Well, good day, everybody. This is Joe Van Cleve, and welcome to another episode of the Typewriter video series. Let's talk about ribbons, shall we? This is one of the most common things that newcomers to typewriters think about. You know, they might have a used machine. They say, hey, I don't know if it works. It probably needs a new ribbon. Sometimes people, newcomers to typewriters, don't even know that it's called a ribbon. I've heard people call it a tape. They say, sometimes I need a new tape in my typewriter. But I'm wanting to talk today about certain types of ribbons, and back in 2017, I believe it was, maybe early 2018, when I acquired my Royal Quiet Deluxe, the one that I've named Adobe Rose. And I don't know if it was the gentleman David who gave it to the machine to me, or if it's my friend Kevin Kittle who gave it to me, but I have a silk adding machine ribbon in that typewriter, and it types really dark. It has a nice dark inky imprint, and this is a 12 character per inch elite sized typeface. I think this machine types the darkest of any of my typewriters, and I think I attributed it initially to the machine itself, just the quality of imprint, but I think it has something to do with that ribbon. So recently, like last week, I gave Lonnie at Ribbons Unlimited a call, and I said, hey Lonnie, this is Joe Van Cleve, and he goes, oh hey Joe, and he knew me from this channel, and we talked, and I explained to him that I was looking for a silk typewriter ribbon, and also I was looking for an adding machine ribbon that he could wind onto typewriter spools. And so that's what he shipped me in the mail. Of course, I paid for these myself. This wasn't sponsored by Ribbons Unlimited, but I want to try those two ribbons out on my recently acquired Olympia SM3. And the SM3 is currently rocking a slightly used nylon ribbon, a standard red-black bichrome nylon ribbon. So we have three ribbons we're going to try out in the SM3 today. The standard nylon one, a silk ribbon, and a nylon adding machine ribbon, and see what difference, if any, there is. So stay tuned. By the way, I came home yesterday evening and I saw the Olympia SM3 out here on the kitchen table, and my wife had written a letter with it. So hey, that's kind of cool. She's not only enabled me to get this typewriter, but now she's starting to use it. Okay, let's get this typewriter, this Royal Quiet Deluxe. Let's do a test typing on this, shall we? So if you have a typewriter collection, you'll know that some machines just happen to have a better imprint than others. Some are darker than others. Some of it might be the kind of ribbon you're using, but a lot of it could also be related to the machine itself. And there's two things about it. So first of all, there is an adjustment in your typewriter called a ring and cylinder, and this has to do with the point at which the type bar hits its hard stop versus where the type slug is contacting the paper or the ribbon and the platen. Whether or not it's hitting the platen too soft or too hard will affect the imprint. The other thing that can affect it, though, is the actual style of typeface on your machine. Sometimes the lines that make up the letters are just thinner on some machines than others. I've noticed this about some of my SM9 Olympias I've had really thin lines, and it just made a lighter appearing typeface, even with a really dark inky ribbon. So it depends on the style of typeface as well as the alignment of your machine. But aside from those two facts, the kind of ribbon you're using will affect the darkness of the imprint, all other things being equal. So here is my standard, I would call it, for my collection. The standard by which I compare all the other machines is this Royal Quiet Deluxe. It just happens to have a really nice dark imprint because of the silk adding machine ribbon that I'm using. So let's bring the Olympia SM3 in here and let's do some work on it, shall we? So we'll use the same scrap sheet of paper that I did the test on the Royal. All right, I can definitely see a difference in darkness between the Royal's silk adding machine ribbon and this standard nylon ribbon. And this difference in darkness of imprint between the two machines as it currently stands, I wouldn't have really noticed if I had just looked at the imprint of the Olympia by itself, like for instance the letter that my wife typed yesterday. Looking at that letter, oh, it looks fine, but when you look at it here, comparing the two, wow, the other one, the silk adding machine ribbon on the Royal Quiet Deluxe sure looks darker. Well, I have some experiments to do here because I just received the other day in the mail a box from Lonnie from Ribbons Unlimited. Let's open up and see what we got. So a lot of people like to use their little tactical, modern tactical style knives. I happen to have this Opinel French made. This is the Opinel number 8. It has this little ferrule you rotate. This is not tactical knife, this is a strategic knife. And it locks like that. So that's what we're going to unbox this with. My grandpa always told me that a dull knife would cut you easier than a sharp knife. I think I'd probably cut myself with both over the years. What we got is we have a red-black silk ribbon with eyelets. This is a typewriter ribbon. And then we have what he calls on his invoice a heavy. So this is heavy inked, a black-red. So that's the adding machine ribbons are heavier ink than the typewriter ribbon, and that's what that is. And then he threw in a 1/2-inch brown ribbon, which is really cool. Before we get started with changing the ribbons, we have to fold up our non-tactical slow knife. You have to turn the ferrule, close it up, and then turn it back to lock it. Okay, let's start with the silk ribbon. And so Lonnie's ribbons come with, unless you ask otherwise, they come with just the ribbon on the supply reel. You have to supply your own take-up reel or use the old one in your machine. I happen to have another one here. You could also ask him and he'll include a spare spool for you. Okay, so if a lot of you old-timers familiar with typewriters, this is old hat, but there's new people watching the channel all the time, so let's look about how to basically replace a typewriter ribbon, since we're doing it anyways, on an Olympia SM3. Okay, so you want to lift up the ribbon cover, but make sure your carriage is moved over to the left far enough so the carriage return lever doesn't obstruct the lifting of the ribbon cover. There you go. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take two type bars that are next to each other in near the middle of the segment, and I'm going to raise them up simultaneously like that. But let's first put the ribbon color in the red position, and then raise up two adjacent type bars. And you see how the ribbon vibrator raises up far enough. Now we can access the ribbon. So I'm just going to take the old one off right now. So I'm just going to, on the Olympias there's a little spring-loaded arm. You just move it out of the way and you can pick up the ribbon spool, take it up over the guide, temporarily set it on the segment, do the same thing to the other one, set it there, take it off the guide. And now in the middle here there's these two loops that the ribbon threads, so they have a split in them, and you kind of want to just bend the ribbon around the loop and in through out of the slot. And sometimes you have to hold your mouth just right. Okay, so you take the ribbon out of the loops. Now we'll just take this ribbon out, set it aside. It's still a good ribbon. The silk ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to put this ribbon onto the other end of the ribbon on this spool here. This universal plastic spool that I'm threading this onto, it has a central hub that kind of pushes out, and I had to push the central hub out so I could get the ribbon started on it. And now I want to wind the ribbon onto the take-up spool until the grommet here, this metal grommet, goes onto the spool. Then we will put the take-up spool on the right side, and you want to make sure that it goes all the way down, that it seats all the way down properly. There's a pin on the sprocket here that has to engage one of the holes in the bottom of the spool. So I'm going to put the other ribbon down here on the other side, the other spool, and make sure it seats properly. Okay, then I'm going to feed the ribbon through the middle behind the ribbon guides, or the ribbon vibrator, like that, and I want to thread them through the two slotted loops. And my hands will probably be in the way, but I'm going to thread that one there, And then this one, for some reason the one on the right is always a little bit harder. So they basically thread in there like that. And then lastly, you want to put the ribbons through the little guides, the auto-reversing guides. So when you've done with doing that, the grommet should be not inboard of the guide, but should be out here on the end of the spool, where the spool is. Then, so let's reverse the ribbon so it will take up the right direction. Okay, I have dirty gloves. Let's do a typing test, shall we? Wow. And I do believe the imprint is pretty darn good on this silk ribbon. It is just about the same as the Royal Quiet Deluxe now. Now the used ribbon that was in the Olympia was not worn out. It was a standard nylon ribbon. It had only been used a little bit, but this new silk ribbon is certainly darker. Wow. Okay, so that was the Ribbons Unlimited silk ribbon compared to the standard nylon ribbon that was in there, and also compared to the silk ribbon that was in the Royal Quiet Deluxe. So let's swap out the silk ribbon for this new black-red nylon ribbon that's been inked as an adding machine ribbon from Ribbons Unlimited. Okay, so let me flip the ribbon direction and we can unthread it to the grommet there, and we'll have to just repeat what we did before. Raise up the two in the red position so it raises higher on the ribbon vibrator, and then we will pull the spools out, and I will take the ribbon off the core of this blank one here. Heavily inked nylon adding machine ribbon. So this particular spool can only go in this side to the bottom. So we want the red on the bottom. So with the ribbon oriented like this, we want it in here like this. So I'm just going to put the end of the ribbon in the middle here, and then I'm going to reinsert the core. And that should hold it like that. Enough to wind it on. Wind it on until the grommet is onto the take-up reel. And do it the same way as before. Okay. Now I really have inky gloves. Well, okay, let's see what we got. So the top line is the Royal Quiet Deluxe with a legacy silk adding machine ribbon. The next line is a standard, slightly used nylon typewriter ribbon. The third one is a new silk typewriter ribbon. And these last two are the adding machine nylon ribbons. And it looks to me like definitely the silk ribbon is equivalent to the legacy silk adding machine ribbon that's in the Royal Quiet Deluxe. I would definitely say this silk ribbon here is the darker of the two new ribbons that I got, for sure. Well, there were some interesting conclusions from this test. So, first of all, looking at the invoice from Ribbons Unlimited, the cost of the nylon ribbons is $8 plus shipping, and the cost of the silk ribbon is $11. So it's about $3 more for the silk ribbon than the nylon, and you have to kind of decide for yourself if this additional cost is worth it. Now, for me, if I'm interested in a really dark imprint, I think the $3 extra is worth it. You'll have to make that judgment call on your own, the value of it. Keep in mind, of course, that there's a number of different ribbon suppliers available online. For instance, on places like Amazon, online sellers, you can buy ribbons in a number of different places. You can also buy bulk ribbons, large reels of it, from places like Baco Ribbon Supply. I enjoyed talking with Lonnie last week when I ordered these ribbons. It's nice knowing somebody who understands the typewriter community and whom you can talk to, the business owner, on the phone during regular business hours, and you can make a custom order. You can order whatever colors he has available. You can order on whatever kind of spools he offers. You can order with or without grommets. You can order silk ribbons, nylon. You can order the nylon that are inked as adding machine ribbons, a little heavier inking. I really enjoyed that. I really did. Okay, so our conclusions now. If you're interested in a dark ribbon, so I would rate these from lightest to darkest in this test. So I would say the lightest ribbon was the Legacy slightly used standard nylon ribbon that I had put in this Olympia when I first got it and fixed it. Slightly darker now is going to be the adding machine inked nylon ribbon. The new adding machine inked nylon ribbon is darker than the standard nylon ribbon, as Lonnie suggested it would be. And then finally, it looks to me like the Legacy silk adding machine ribbon in my Royal Quiet Deluxe and this new silk ribbon from Ribbons Unlimited, they're both the darkest. And I really like the looks of that dark, inky silk ribbon, even with this. This is an 11 character per inch machine, so it's right in between Pica and Elite. This 11 character per inch machine, it really looks good. Even the small like letters with loops, like the little lowercase e's or whatever, it doesn't look like it clogs it very easily, so it stays nice and neat. Yeah, I really like the look of that silk ribbon. Again, a little more expensive, and you'll have to decide for yourself if it's worth it. Now, if you take two different typewriters from your collection, and one is a really nice, well-built, well-regarded machine like this Olympia, compared to maybe a slightly lesser build quality machine, maybe a lighter portable machine or whatever. But if the portable has a darker imprint, oftentimes to me it feels like it's a better machine just because there's that darker imprint. Now, as I said earlier, that can have a lot to do not only with the kind of ribbon you're using, but the alignment of the ring and cylinder and the style of typeface, as how thick the line weight is. But just by switching to this silk ribbon, this already beautiful machine, now it has a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more quality to the imprint that I really like. And so that's something you guys will have to decide for yourselves if that extra $3 is worth it. But I think for my money, for what I put into this beautiful machine, I think it's well worth having a silk ribbon. And that's my conclusion for today. I love silk ribbons, even though they're a little more expensive. It was an interesting little test, and it reinforced kind of what I already knew, that silk ribbons are wonderful. I think a typewriter really does something to your creativity when you have this higher degree of confidence in the machine. And sometimes just having that extra dark imprint gives you that little bit more confidence in the quality of your machine, and that can sometimes have an effect on your writing. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you stay creative. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye for now.